Right, I'm going to work through this level 1 past exam question for functional skills maths. Have a read of the question. It is a scales drawing question, and down below we've been given a key. So I'll just move it down so you can have a see of that. 1 square on the grid is 3 centimetres by 3 centimetres in the programme. So we've got to put all these adverts onto this page using the scale. I'll use the scale first to convert each of these lengths and figure out how many boxes it's going to be. So if it's 3 centimetres for each box, this advert A is going to be 2 boxes by 3. B is going to be a 3 by 3. C is a 3 by 4. And 6 is a 2. D is a 2 by 4. So that's just using the scale that I've been given. Now I'll try and actually fit them into the grid. I've been told that the adverts must not overlap. I think I'll start with the biggest advert first, which is advert C. That's 3 squares by 4 squares. So if I put that in, that's going in there. Then I know I can fit, oh no, that's not D. I'll label that correctly as advert C. 3 by 4 is C. Advert D can fit next to it because that's a 2 by 4. Then I've got a 3 by 3 which I can fit in here, and advert A is the smallest, it'll fit in there. There are other ways of arranging the adverts, and as long as you get them fitted in so that they don't overlap and they fill up all the space, you've done your conversions correctly, you'll get all 3 points. This is the second level 1 exam question. Samia is building a fence for an extra car park near the football match. The car park is rectangular with a 3 metre gap for the entrance. We've got a sketch there of the car park. Now it specifically says it's not drawn accurately. We've got 4 rolls of fencing. Each roll is 50 metres long. The fencing can be cut and joined together. This is a really important part of the question, the fact that you can cut fence and join it together. Are 4 rolls of fencing enough for this car park? And it also says show a check, so I'll remember to come back to that check in a minute. We've got 4 marks. One of them is going to be for the check, so that's 3 marks for actually working this out. So this is actually a perimeter question. Anything about fencing is usually a question about perimeter. We're looking at the length around the edge of this car park here. So I need to know the total length of that. So I'm going to have add up 68.5 to another 68.5, a 32, and then a 32 minus this gap of 3, which leaves me with 29 on that edge. So I'm going to add those 4 up. Remember to put your plus sign in to make it really clear. I've got 198 from doing that. And that's metres, so I'll put my units in to be sure. The question is 4 rolls of fencing enough? Well, 4 rolls of fencing, when it's 4 rolls and each roll is 50 metres long, that's going to be 200 metres. So I can see then I've got my 2 values to compare, 198 and 200. All I have to do now is make a statement to answer this question. Are 4 rolls of fencing enough for this car park? Yes, 4 rolls are enough. Now we have to do a check. Showing a check is really tricky for a lot of people. All you really have to do is either work backwards to solve the problem, or you can use a different method to solve it, or you can use estimation to solve it. I'm actually going to use estimation because these values can easily be rounded. So I'm going to do this in another colour and I'm going to round my answers. Whenever you round to estimate, round to the nearest 1 significant figure. So I only want 1 number left. So 68.5 becomes 70, as does this one. 32 becomes 30, and 29 becomes 30. Now, most of my values have gone up there, so estimating up in this kind of question is probably the best thing. If I add up all those values, I get 200. That's using estimation, and again I can see that 4 times 50 is going to be enough, and that's just a 1 point check. This next one's a level 2 past exam question. It's asking us for the volume of concrete needed to cover this car park. To figure out the volume, I'm actually going to have to figure out the area first and then multiply it by the depth. We've been given the depth here. The concrete will be 0.09 metres deep. Now, it looks like a really tiny number, but that's just because they've tried to give you it in the same units here. They've tried to give you metres and metres here so that you don't have to do any converting. So that's a good thing. So let's start by working out the area of this shape here. It's 2 rectangles joined together, and you can split the rectangles however you like. I'm going to split them like this. Split them into 2 easier rectangles. I'll calculate the area of the top rectangle, then calculate the area of the bottom rectangle and add them together. If you want to have a go at that, you can just pause the video and have a go of it yourself. I'll start by writing out all my work in. For the top one, the area is going to be 39.5 multiplied by 49.75. And that gives me 1,965.125. I won't round it, I'll leave it as accurate as I can. And then I'll look at the second area down here. That area is going to be 12.75 multiplied by 82. And for that I get 1,047.96. Then I'll add those 2 areas up, so I'll write my work in to show that. 1965.125 added to 1047.96. And for that I get 3,013.085. And again, I'm not going to round it here either. At the moment I've got square metres because it's an area, but to find the volume I have to do area times the depth. The depth I've been given is 0.09. So what I'll do is I'll times the area that I've got by 0.09. So that's the area I've got there, times by 0.09. And that gives me 271.17765. My philosophy is always to write down the whole answer that the calculator gives you and then round it appropriately when you've finished. So I'm going to round it to 271.2, and that's now cubic metres because it's a volume. So let's just go back and read the question, check we've done everything that we're asked for. What is the total volume of concrete Callie will need? 271.2 cubic metres. I think that's done, but then we're asked to show a check of your working. Now there's a few ways of doing a check. The most appropriate one I think for this question is to use estimation. So that means I'm going to round each of the values that I've been given and do the whole calculation through again. So this is 40, 50, 80, and I'd probably round this to 10. That means that the top value I've got up here, 40 times 50, should give me 2,000. So that's an area of 2,000 in there as an estimate, and the bottom area is an estimate of 800. If I add those together, I'm obviously going to get 2,800, and if I times that by, let's say it's 0.09, I don't think there's any reason to round that, times 0.09, that gives me 252 now. Which is close to my actual volume that I've already got, so I would assume that that is correct. This next question is another level 2 past exam question, and it's on scale drawings. So we have to do a scale drawing of this inaccurate drawing at the top. We've been given one of the lines already, We've been given a key at the bottom and one of the lines already drawn on the grid. We've been told that the line that they've already drawn stands for this 3.5 metre edge, and we've been asked to fill in the key. That one square length on the page is so many metres in the food court in the theatre. So if that length that I've got here is actually going to be 3.5, then I need to figure out what each of these squares counts for. Now that's 7 squares, so I'm going to have to do 3.5 divided by that 7 squares, which gives me 0.5. So now each square on the grid counts for 0.5 metres in real life. Now that I've got that key sorted, I can find out what all the other lengths have to be. So if I have 4.5 metres and I divide it by my key, my 0.5, I know that that's now 9 squares. The door is going to be 2 squares. 2.25, well, that's going to be 4.5 squares. And 6.75 is going to be 13.5 squares. So when I've got all those measurements already on, I've obviously got this 7 squares over here already. All I have to do is draw it. There we go, that's my completed drawing. I've done 9 squares along this edge, 4.5 along this edge, 13.5 along this edge, and I've left a gap in here of 2 squares for the door. I've also remembered to fill in my key, so it's worth just checking that you've done everything that you've been asked to do in the question.